Greetings, Alafia, Sawabona, welcome. My name is Renee Ifagbaye Ishubola Ayalagbegbesina Kimberly Smith. I am the daughter of Maureen and Dr. Richard Smith and Stephen Tyson. I am the granddaughter of Violet and Jacob Chevalier, of Brodell Anderson and Cecil Smith. I am the great-granddaughter of Lucille Benoit and Eddie Benoit. I come to you today and introduce myself in this way because I never stand alone. Those who've come before me, those who are ancient, those who give me the ideas that need to come forth, stand with me at all times. And I also introduce myself that way because when this journey is over, it'll be the pathway for those who come after. So I thank you for joining us and welcome to Be the Medicine, Pathways to Healing and Liberation Through Ancestral Intelligence. Pathways to Healing and Liberation Through Ancestral Intelligence. Sawabona, welcome to Be the Medicine, Pathways to Healing and Liberation Through Ancestral Intelligence. I pray everyone is well. I know it feels like the world is upside down, but we have the power to bring it right side up. And so today we're going to talk about the topic, Be the Balance. Be the balance. I want to start this conversation by talking about or revisiting the worldview, right? Our worldview is the way in which, or the lens in which we understand the world. It's the values that are valued, that are passed down from generation to generation in order for us to work and be in community. And so when we talk about, for instance, the word technology, we have to look at the word technology based on the worldview. The definition for technology in the West is the ability to apply knowledge to serve a practical purpose. The orientation of technology is industrial, commercial, and for military uses. When we look at indigenous cultures and look at the word technology, technology is defined as what keeps the individuals and the relationships between individuals and nature healthy. The orientation is to heal and help people remember and fulfill their purpose in life. So when we look at those two definitions, they're based on the worldview, right? In the West, it is more of an individual's way of looking at how it interacts with its surroundings, versus an indigenous worldview, which looks at our relation to ourselves, nature, and each other is considered healthy, and that is considered our ability to thrive. That's where we thrive and where we are in balance and in alignment. So there is a concept, a Ki-Kongo concept called Mu-Kinenga. This Ki-Kongo concept or principle translates roughly to balance, or looking at harmony in both individual and our collective life. And so you would say to me, Renee, why is this important in this day and age and everything that's going on in the world? Like, why are you talking about this? I think it's important to talk about this because with everything that's going on with the status quo, right, with the majority kind of narratives, we would be under the belief that we are disempowered. And that is not true, right? This is the time for us to figure out how we reconnect to our indigenous technologies that allows our communities to heal, to build relations, and to find balance. This is the time for us to figure out how we reconnect to our indigenous technologies that allows our communities to heal, to build relations, and to find balance. Greetings, everyone. Oh my goodness, we did a thing. We published our book, Be the Medicine: Pathways to Healing and Liberation Through Ancestral Plant Intelligence, on August 1st, 2024. Yay! We are so excited, and we hope that you will continue to join us with this journey. You can purchase the book on Amazon.com in both Kindle and physical form. And please stay tuned, join our mailing list so that you can hear about our book launch. You can hear about our book talks and some of the book discussions that will be happening throughout the fall. Again, Be the Medicine: Pathways to Healing and Liberation Through Ancestral Plant Intelligence by Renee K. Smith. Pathways to Healing and Liberation Through Ancestral Plant Intelligence by Renee K. Smith. This is the time. This is what it's calling for us to do at this time, right? We have to make an intentional decision about where we're going to put our energy at this moment, because wherever we put our energy, that's what's going to manifest. We have to make an intentional decision about where we're going to put our energy at this moment, because wherever we put our energy, that's what's going to manifest. And what we've done for so long is that we, indigenous folks around the world, we have taken care of that which has colonized us to make it okay and palatable for what we need it to be. But we're at a place right now where universe is asking us to choose. We had the whole epidemic happen that kind of shifted things in a way that we thought would have been long-lived. But I think what has happened is the powers that be are still trying to hold on to an old regime and an old mindset. And in that, we are watching it crumble on its own. So the question becomes, as it was during COVID, as it was during those moments where I, was coaching folks through kind of really figuring out what they're using their energies for. Is this a time where we put our energy behind that? Or is this a time when we start really thinking about what we came here to do, why we're here, what's our purpose, why are we doing what we do, and how are we connected to the divine, and in what places and spaces do we want to give our energy and our life force to allow for legacy to grow? Ki-Kongo is also about a worldview that stresses the importance of equilibrium between humanity and the natural world, between community members and within oneself. This idea of ma'at, this idea of finding and understanding balance, right? The idea that you can't pour from an empty cup. But you also have to ensure that the reflection that you're giving is one that is of wellness, because again, we are a community that understands if I am well, then we are well. But if you are not well, then I am not well either. And so the question becomes, how do we find ways to experience and to create balance? What does balance look like for you? What does balance look like for you in your everyday life? What does it look like? How do you achieve it? And when you achieve it, what happens to the world around you? How do you experience the world around you when it's in balance? Are you interested in unlocking the ancient wisdom of flower essences for personal and collective healing? Join us for a powerful 30-minute webinar exploring how flower essences can help you connect to your ancestral roots and support emotional transformation. Learn about the ancient practice of flower healing in Kemet and discover how these timeless remedies can help you heal collective trauma, cultivate emotional resilience, and foster personal growth. Whether you are seeking clarity, self-love, or energetic alignment, this webinar will introduce you to the transformative potential of flower essences. Reserve your spot today at www.akikafloweressence.com. Mu-Kinenga encourages the idea that personal well-being and collective prosperity depends on maintaining balance in all areas of our lives. So I'm going to say that again. Mu-Kinenga encourages the idea that personal well-being and collective prosperity depends on maintaining balance in all areas of our lives. This includes honoring ancestral wisdom, understanding one's purpose within the community, and nurturing relationships with both the seen and unseen forces of the universe. It highlights the interconnectedness of all beings, calling for mutual respect, cooperation, and responsibility towards each other and the earth. This idea of balance, right? What would bring balance to the world at this time? Because it's not the people. We see it's not the people. But it can occur in our own communities if that is where we seek to see the balance, because that is where we experience the micro of our lives, right? The macro is out of focus right now. But what's happening in the micro? What's happening in our family units, right? Where and how can we bring balance to our family units? How can we create places and spaces that are safe for us to be vulnerable, for us to express, for us to decompress, for us to get recharged, for us to think about all the things that we want to achieve in the world, and those things are being supported? How are we starting with the micro? The micro is our family, our home lives. Are we feeding are we creating opportunities for us to feed our families and feed ourselves the most nutritious and rich, dense foods, right? Are we allowing ourselves to learn new skills? Are we allowing ourselves to laugh and consider ourselves, our families, our medicine? How are we creating balance within our most micro understanding of community, which is our families, right? Are we taking a moment to lay down that disagreement that has kind of kept us disconnected for so long and reconnecting our family, right? Because this is a time where our strongest allies are those who are our families, those who are our spiritual family, those who are our blood family, those who become family because we've known you and been through thick and thin. This is the time where we want to be calling that in. We want to be thinking about ways of healing. So I was thinking about the idea of pain, right? I was thinking about it first personally, right? That my physical body, or the way in which my body is made up, I have a pretty high threshold for pain. So maybe about 2 months ago, I was bedridden for about 2 days because I had twisted and pinched a nerve in my back. But the issue wasn't so much pinching the nerve in my back. The issue was I hadn't actually acknowledged that I was in pain because my threshold was so high that I kept doing things, and then I threw my back out even more to the point of where my body just locked up and was like, you're not getting out of bed. And in those moments when I realized that because my threshold is high, I have to be checking in with myself constantly to understand this machine that exists with me, right? Am I feeling discomfort? What type of discomfort am I feeling? On a real scale of 1 to 10, if we're past 10, then I probably should check in a little bit sooner and figure out what's going on. But we've been conditioned to feel pain and ignore it, or to not to want to feel the pain and then get rid of it. And so in both of those extremes, we rob ourselves of finding balance. We rob ourselves of evolution. We rob ourselves of being able to train our bodies and our minds to understand what's happening, right? And so you're like, well, what do you mean by that? Pain and feeling pain and experiencing pain, that's a part of our ability to evolve. Do you think when a butterfly has to break out of the chrysalis and go into its cocoon that it's not feeling pain? Of course it's painful. Of course it's painful. But part of it is it also understands that through that pain means that it's going to come out on the other side as this beautiful butterfly. That sometimes we have to feel our pain. We got to sit in the discomfort of our own pain in order for us to get to the balance. There is no other way us to get to it unless we go through it. And it's hard. It's hard. It's not the easiest thing. It's hard when it's on your physical body. But I can tell you this. That week that I was laid up and I couldn't get up, I remember the second day saying, okay, I'm going to do what I need to do. I started hydrating my body. I knew what types of herbs I needed to start taking to get the body to start, one, eliminating the pain. The pain was so strong that I literally couldn't stand up. So finally I got my place so I could stand up, and I was like, I'm going to the acupuncturist now. So when I got there, again, acupuncturist laughed at me again because he was like, between the, scale of 1 to 10, what's your pain level? I was like, 17. He was like, what? 17. He's like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah. I said, my threshold for pain is really, really high. However, a week and a half ago, when I felt the first twinge of discomfort, if I had intentionally began dealing with it then, we would not have been here. And so part of what happened then was I felt it. I ignored my inner understanding about my own body, and I let it go. And it just was like the body, very much like you all have heard me talk about the car, right? The car was like the blinker light went on and I told you something is wrong, right? You're driving down and on the dashboard it says check engine light, and it blinks one time and then it goes off. So you're like, whatever, it's not really a thing. And then you get in the car again and it blinks again. Then you're in the middle of driving someplace and it's on. It does not go off. And so you're like, well, I made it home, no problem. And then you go out again and it, it stays on and it blinks and it does a weird thing. And you're like, well, no, I can get it back home. We'll be okay. And then that one day happens where you go to put the key in the car and the car looks at you like, what? I've been telling you something is going on with me, and you decided to ignore me. What makes you think I'm turning on? By then, we're in emergency. We're in an emergency state. We've ignored the signs. And so I implore you, as I'm speaking about this for myself and realizing it for myself, to realize when you're feeling the pain, when you're feeling the discomfort, it's not a time to want it to go away. It's a time to dig in and find out, well, what's happening with me and why is it happening? And this is, I'm speaking about it from a physical space, because when your physical body is down, your mind gets down as well, right? Because the mind is our first apothecary. So when our bodies feel a pain, or we feel like we can't do something, and the mind takes on that same understanding, we're not going to be able to heal ourselves, because we have the ability to heal ourselves. But when we use that pain as an indicator of discomfort, as an indicator of a need, as an indicator of imbalance, we're able to figure out the solutions to bring us back in balance. Greetings, everyone. This is Renee Smith from Be the Medicine Podcast, wanting to share a special opportunity with you. We have our Goddess Rising Winter Solstice Retreat getting ready to happen in December. This is our 4th year of doing this retreat, but this is our 2nd year doing it internationally, and it will occur in Belize, Central America. My family is actually from Belize, so it's going home for me, and I really love being able to be there with my family, creating sacred space for us to move into the spirit of the divine feminine. So, Goddess Rising Winter Solstice Retreat 2024. Relax, relate, retreat, restore. The Goddess Rising Winter Solstice Retreat is an opportunity for Black and Brown women to create and celebrate in sacred space the transition into the divine feminine energy of winter. These are the times where we rest, conceive, receive, and plant seeds for the next harvest season. This retreat is cultivated with 4 main principles in mind. Relax. Let down your hair and just be. Relate. Connect and build a community. Retreat. We must take time for ourselves. Restore. We take this time to restore trust in ourselves, our bodies, sisterhood, and the future. So, please join us, Goddess Rising Winter Solstice Retreat 2024, December 16th through December 23rd, Belize, Central America. I probably could have helped that whole scenario with my back if, when I felt that first twinge and was like, that didn't feel good, that I start to stretch, that I started to take the herbs that I needed to start repair, and that I started to be mindful of the way that I was resting or sleeping that would help to bring energy to that area. But I ignored it. And so many times we shift out of balance, not because of what someone is doing to us, but because we actually just ignored the signs that imbalance was occurring in every area of our lives. We do it with our finances. We knew the bill was going to be due. We knew we needed to have taken care of it. Then it became astronomical because instead of us dealing with the pain and the discomfort or creating a plan around how we could deal with it, we just stuck our heads in the sand and decided that we weren't going to deal with it until it was time. And then it became more of a stressor. And that stressor then caused other stressors and other stressors that then became more imbalances in our lives, right? So the idea of balance is not just the imbalance that exists outside, but it's the imbalance that exists within us, in our mental states, in our physical states, in our spiritual states, right? That we are ensuring that we are taking the time to understand what are indicators of our imbalance. And many times, pain is one of them, discomfort is one of them, right? Those things happen way before we get to a place that we're in crisis. So the question becomes, how do we ensure that we are paying attention to the signs so that we can come back in balance? What are the things that we need to do in order for us to ensure that we're connecting to ourselves, to our family members, to those in our community, and to the earth so that we can find our balance? What are the things that we need to do in order for us to ensure that we're connecting to ourselves, to our family members, to those in our community, and to the earth so that we can find our balance? This is the place where these indigenous technologies come into play, right? I've spoken about it before, right? We go and I always told, when I used to work with young people a lot, and I used to say, look, we used to say it all the time. You don't have to tell me your secrets. Because I personally, in my own brain space, sometimes I may not need to have to be keeping track of, when I was working with lots of young people all the time, it was a lot of young people that we were counseling and coaching and so trying to remember where and how the stories connected or didn't connect and whose story was which. And, it could be a lot on the mind. And so there were times where, young people were going through things and we were like, you know what? You don't have to tell me. Well, we're going to go take a walk in the park and I want you to go and talk to a tree. I want you to hold a tree. I want you to express your gratitude and I want you to tell the tree. Because that ancient understanding that it has to be able to hold it, to alchemize that, and to give you back the energy that you need in order for you to find balance in this moment is one that's higher than you. And sometimes in our healing processes and with a supporting community, sometimes we got to move out the way and allow the higher beings to do the work. So figuring out spaces and places that will allow for people to understand the pain or the discomfort as indicators for imbalance and finding balance again. Finding balance in connecting to the divinity within, water, and speaking and praying into our water, being intentional when we take our showers, being intentional when we cook, being intentional to any time that we're interacting with these primordial forces. We are sharing and we are giving gratitude and we are being intentional about how we're building our relations with them. How are we dealing with our imbalances, right? Because the West would tell you, right, or the Western ways of dealing with it is go pop a pill. And so what that does is it dims the pain, right? And allows it to go away for some time and allows us to feel comfort. But we haven't dealt with what is the seat of that discomfort. And if you know, as I talk about it when I work with flower essences, when I work with any kind of coaching, that, life and healing is an onion. We only can deal with what we have the capacity to deal with, which means we may have peeled off one layer and there's still 4 more layers in there that we need to deal with. Many times, the pain layer is that top layer. It's like ripping off the Band-Aid. That first thing, that thing hurts. OMG. But once you rip it off, you're pretty good. You can kind of withstand it, right? And when you get a cut or you get a scab, what happens, right? The body is starting to naturally begin to heal. And then the scab falls off. And then the skin starts to come back together. right? So we're thinking about these places and moments when we're experiencing our most intense or acute moments of pain as an imbalance, and figuring out ways that we're able to kind of bring them back together, right? How we honor, as we said, the definition of Mu-Kinenga, how do we honor the ancestral wisdom that exists and allows us to walk in our divinity, walk in our purpose in everything that we do. We are built for a time like now. I remember having a conversation with an elder this week, and we were just chatting and talking about, when, right after the election, everybody was like, "How you doing?" And I was like, "I'm fine." They were like, "Yeah, how are you?" "Fine." I said, "We knew where this was going." I said, "The signs were already there. I was already clear that there was absolutely no values being toted here, because all of the things that are happening should not be happening. So if they're happening because they want them to happen. And so if that's the case, I'm pulling my energy back. There's absolutely no reason for me to put my energy there." I said, what I'm doing now is I am going to put my energy in building my community. I'm going to put my energy in ensuring that the gift that Creator has given me, I will not waste it, and I will ensure that what is happening in the circumference of my home, in the circumference of the community that I can touch, will be the best that can be. That's where my energy is going. And so we were talking about, I was talking with this elder about this, and we were just talking about, how amazing that is. And that, as she said, faith and fear can't live in the same space. So we have to make a collective and an intentional understanding about what we're choosing. Because when we choose it, the universe and the ancestors and everyone will support it. Faith and fear can't live in the same space. So we have to make a collective and an intentional understanding about what we're choosing. Because when we choose it, the universe and the ancestors and everyone will support it. I said the other part is that we are our ancestors' dream. We are. We are the descendants of the ones who decided to fight, the ones who decided to believe in freedom to their dying breath, the ones who decided in carnival to get pregnant and to have the continuing line. Because if you think about it, there are some folks whose ancestral line ended during the transatlantic slave. There are folks who didn't make it to today, that their legacy stopped because they decided to walk in fear. They have no descendants in this time and space. I'm going to let that sink in. Because as we were talking, we said it, we were like, whoa, that's really deep. It's deep. It is the faith of our ancestors. It is the dream of our ancestors why we're here. And so the other thing that I walk with is, don't get it twisted. We are our ancestors' dreams, but we are not our ancestors. We come with a different set of technology that we understand how to wield, how to yield, and how to make it work. And so if you understand what you're standing in, this time here is the time for us to thrive. It's the time for us to figure out how to create opportunities for balance. And not the Western conversations around what prosperity and wealth and what it means to have balance. Balance mind, a balance spirit, balance body, that we are eating well, that we are being intentional about our relation to ourselves, to the earth, to each other. That's what this time is calling. It's calling for us to really invoke that which has been laying dormant for so long, right? It's calling for us to tap into our purpose in another way, to connect with the divine in another way, to bring forth those things that we thought we could never do. This is the time to do it. We have to pull off the Band-Aid. We have to really choose, which one are we walking in? Are we walking in fear? Or are we walking in faith? And if we're walking in faith, how do we ensure that we are the ancestors that leaves this world better than those who came before us, And for those who are going to come after, we become that blueprint. We have to pull off the Band-Aid. We have to really choose, which one are we walking in? Are we walking in fear or are we walking in faith? And if we're walking in faith, how do we ensure that we are the ancestors that leaves this world better than those who came before us? And for those who are going to come after, we become that blueprint. So this is the time that you begin to meditate about what it is that you should be doing at this time. This is the time where, for me, I have a really good friend of mine who she's always she's been one of the people who has really helped me to build my consultancy around organizational development. And part of it is because I've worked with, many, different organizations over time. And she was the first one who identified. She was like, Renee, you're a unicorn. I was like, what does that mean? Right? And she's like, you're a unicorn. She said, you have the ability to be a visionary and to understand the details of what it means to be a visionary or have a vision and execute it at the same time. He says some people can have the vision and some people can see the detail, but very few people can have the vision and see the detail and execute. And so I say this to say that if you have that vision, don't throw it away because you're not sure of the detail. Because this is the time to begin building community and building the resources that you need in order for you to do that work. Maybe you have the vision and your friend or your family member has the detail. And if you come together, you can make that happen. Somebody else has the detail but can't see what the bigger vision needs to be. You all come together and you're able to make that happen. But this is the time where we are pulling our knowledge and we're moving into this collective consciousness that's really about building and finding balance. And we're doing it without fear. We're doing it without fear. We're creating the realities for what our ancestors wanted. And the most powerful thing about it is we have so much data to look at. We have so many examples of the lessons that they learned. And yes, they're painful. Yes, Tulsa was painful. Yes, Move was painful. These are all movements that were deconstructed by the colonial powers. But there's such a powerful lesson. They did this for us. They also gave us examples of genius. They gave us the East. They gave us Boys and Girls High School. They gave us, so we have the examples to learn from. We don't have to rebuild the wheel. We need to strategize around what parts of these things do we need to pull out and study and understand and call on that ancestor to say, hey, I need some guidance and assistance about what you may have been thinking about when you did X, Y, and Z, so that then when that download happens, we're really clear about, okay, this is where it was. And it doesn't mean that we're not going to experience failure, because failure isn't a bad thing, right? I'm a firm believer that failure just means that you have space to grow. And so I think that this is where we need to call our energy to. We need to call our power back. We've spent enough time building everybody else's mansions. We've built everybody else's riches. We've built everyone else's country. When are we going to do it for ourselves? What's stopping us from believing and understanding that we deserve it just as much as anybody else does? We deserve our genius. We deserve for our children to experience our genius. And to understand that any people who have tried to stop your genius from occurring, in this moment, this is the moment where that type of pattern of thinking can be transcended. You got to find your tribe. And when you find your tribe, you'll know, because the clicking will start happening. The ideas will start flowing, and you all will start putting things into fruition, and it will start happening and having impact. So I ask you, what are you doing to create balance in your lives, right? What are you doing? And it's so funny. I think about it, and I think about when COVID was happening. I used to always say, lots of people got a side hustle, but I think it wasn't really a side hustle. I really think that that was actually their passion coming out. And because we had to face ourselves, we were able to take the time to really develop and put certain things in action. And so I think that this is the time where we find the balance between giving to the status quo and giving to the world as it is versus us giving to ourselves and our communities and our families, right? And so that has always been in balance. For most indigenous cultures, it's been out of balance for a long time because we've been used to literally build the world. Right? We talk about Black women, and we talk about Black women right now in this period in time, and this moment in time where Black women are like, y'all on your own. We not doing it no more. We done fed your babies. We done built your things. We done. We not doing it right now. Right? We're saying no, thank you. And folks are up in arms, and I've been saying no, thank you for the last 5 years. So I'm not really sure what took some other folks so long. No, thank you. And so because we put that boundary up, we now are going to be able to start having a conversation about what we want to do with ourselves, what we want to do with that energy. Because we've been tired. We've been doing the work for everyone else and not ourselves. And so take a moment to figure out what you need to bring yourself into balance. And then find a moment once you've rested to tap into the divinity that exists within you and ask, what is it that I need to leave here as a part of my legacy? What is my legacy, right? What is my legacy? And that's the stuff that we start working on. That's the stuff that we start seeing and being able to build new apps and new books and sharing information. And that's the stuff we start building new programs and rites of passage programs. And we're teaching our children how to code, and we're teaching our children how to do basic things that people think are basic, but they're not really basic. Because one of the things that has always been a fear, and it continues to be a fear of the status quo, is that those that they have labeled minority come with a set of skills. We built this country, and guess what? With that skill set, no matter where you drop us, we can still build another country. That is something to be feared. And we've been walking in a daze for so long that we forgot we've been the ones. So what happens when, instead of us directing all of that energy outside, we begin to bring that energy in? How do we begin to create opportunities for collective healing, for individual healing, and for the upliftment of our communities? This idea of Mu-Kinenga, finding and understanding how to bring balance into our life. In a modern context, Mu-Kinenga can be applied to issues of social justice, community healing, and personal growth, urging individuals and groups to seek balance, not just in their daily lives, but in their interactions with the world around them. The concept is often invoked in cultural, spiritual, and social practices that aim to restore harmony and foster a deeper connection to ancestral teachings. We are our ancestors' dreams. Question is, what will be our legacy? We are our ancestors' dreams. Question is, what will be our legacy?